Good night, babe. I love you. I kind of like how they used the. Have they called Alex a she, or did they go gender ambiguous
Yes,
with
Alex
Alex?
is a she, but you don't know what the protagonist is.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Hmm.
I also like these status things at the bottom here. Very depressed. Lots of sleeping and hating yourself. Not currently seeing a therapist. Not currently taking medication. So maybe this is like a to-do list.
This is what you need to accomplish. I like that it's on top of static.
It's a mild Friday afternoon. Alex calls you from one of her classes, telling you that there's going to be a really awesome birthday party tonight at her apartment for one of her roommates is throwing. You've hung out with this roommate a few times with Alex, and you get along well enough, but aren't particularly close. You don't work in the morning, and you have nothing else in particular to do tonight. You're feeling kind of run down, but you have been fatigued most of the time lately. You mention that you're feeling ill because you're not sure how else to explain those feelings to someone else, and say that you aren't sure that you can make it tonight. There's a second of silence over your phone, but you can swear that you hear the sound of your partner's face fall. She tries to convince you anyway. You haven't seen her this week, and she sounds pretty insistent that you come over. She even drops a few suggestively worded hints that you can stay over with them tonight after the party. What do you do?
Nice. Agree to go.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'll take a suggestive hint when I get one.
You agree to go even though you're really
Yeah.
not feeling social. You know it's important to Alex and you really like to see her. Seeing her does make you feel better sometimes, and you hope that this is the case tonight, even if it does mean dealing with all the usual social anxiety. I've had that before. I had a full blown anxiety attack after work once, and I was like in a lot of pain. And I had a date that night with this girl, and I almost canceled, and I didn't. I ended up dragging myself out to it, and I ended up feeling better, and it was worth it.
Good.
Yeah, I never liked the sense of giving up on
Mhm.
a social situation because I'm inclined not to go. That always like makes me almost like get angry with myself and force myself. But I think it also depends on maybe the person that you had a date with and like how much you were looking forward to that.
I was a lot, and it did turn into
Like
something.
some people are worth it, you know, like and
Yeah,
some people maybe you're like,
yeah, she was worth it. Well,
that
clearly, if she cleared up the
anxiety
anxiety,
gave up.
then yeah,
I was gonna say if you felt better afterwards, then it was definitely worth it. And sometimes just making yourself go. I've definitely put in an appearance somewhere before just for the sake of that.
mm,
And it was just to like make myself do it. And then I felt good afterwards because I didn't like, you know, take the easy way out to my couch, which
yeah.
I did for most of my life growing up. So,
I've definitely done that before. Where it's just like I don't feel well. I'm not going out.
yeah.
Uh, The time to leave rolls around and you grab your overnight bag. Alex's apartment is a short walk away, and there's already people hanging out on the porch. You feel your chest tighten as you approach the building and try to still your nerves. You quickly find your partner chatting away with the birthday girl, and Alex immediately lightens up when she sees you. I'm so happy you came. I wasn't sure if you were going to make it. A young man taps her on the shoulder, and she turns back to you to apologize and let you know that they have to do something for the party. Alex hands you a beer and plants a kiss on your cheek before going off to deal with whatever came up. As you look around, you don't see anyone else you recognize. That's always a fun feeling. You know?
Ugh.
It's like, I gotta fend for myself. But it's funny though. At house
Four.
parties, it's not so bad. I guess.
Lead number four.
Awkwardly stand in the same spot, unsure of what else to do. Put your bag in Alex's room and avoid the crowd in there for a while. Cling to the back wall, sip your beer, and wait for your girlfriend to return. Proceed to drink in earnest, hoping it makes you less uncomfortable. Hmm.
Four. I'm okay
I'm
with
a
five if we want
four.
to go that direction because it might be funny. Not funny, but it might be more interesting. That's the
Five
more
is
interesting
probably
choice.
the
But
most
four
common
is
choice.
Yeah.
Four, I think, is what most people would safely do.
yeah.
I've
But
done three a few times when I was really uncomfortable.
Yep.
If I'm being
That
honest.
would work too.
Let's go. Yeah, that's when you pull out your phone too. You're like, oh,
I usually
check
start.
my emails.
I start with 2, but generally I can transition to 1. Like, I think I learned to turn it on
totally
after
Yeah, but I
a
mean,
while.
depends
the whole point is
people,
you
I know.
gotta
right?
get one, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's why a house party is weird
Yeah.
that way. But yeah, let's pick an interesting one.
Okay, I'd say 5.
Okay, that's a good track.
Well, that's what most people would probably end up doing. So
Yeah, because it's the person's trying to fight what's going on, so they're gonna make a
for
bad
the sake of
decision.
our stream and enlightening everyone.
After Alex walks away, you're not quite sure what to do with yourself. Scanning the party for familiar faces yields nothing, and you're not sure what your girlfriend or the birthday girl got off to. You look at the beer in your hand, you know you care a lot less about everything in general when tipsy. You know you should avoid getting drunk and possibly emotional. Oh yeah, because we had that thing before on the previous page about the project. You quickly down the beer, hoping that it will loosen you up a little bit. You down a few more as quickly as your stomach will let you, handle the carbonation comfortably. I'm glad they took that into account. And wait for it to take effect. By the time it does, Alex has already returned and is introducing you to people. However, all that drinking accomplished was making you even more tired and unfocused. And you stick to your girlfriend for the rest of the night, staying fairly quiet in group conversations. Later that night, as the two of you are both tipsy and dozing off, Alex cuddles up to you and lightly slurs, "I'm really glad you turned up tonight, to be honest. I really didn't think you'd show. It's really cool you did. Really." You know she meant it lovingly, but you're not quite sure how you feel about the statement. All right,
She's up to you.
status is the same. It's a little afternoon on a muggy Saturday. Your mother has come over for a surprise visit, claiming loudly that she doesn't see you enough, and she decided to invite herself over. As you converse, she walks around your place, and you get the distinct impression that you're being inspected. Funny that. "So what's going on with you lately?" she asks abruptly. Taken somewhat aback by this left fielder, you tell her that you're not sure what she means. She repeats the question, saying that you haven't seemed like yourself lately. She gestures to the dirty dishes piled in the sink, and notes the fact that you haven't called or visited in a while. Your reticence only seems to spur her on more. She pressures you, asking if you're having problems at work or with Alex, and you're beginning to feel increasingly battered by her sudden well-meaning but overwhelming inquisition. Under her questions, you become increasingly uncomfortable. You want to be able to explain to her how you've been feeling, but the truth is you're not really sure yourself. Nothing horrific has happened at work or with your significant other or friends or anything like that, but all the same, you can't deny that lately you've just felt drained. Drained, honey, her voice trails. As your mother returns to what amounts to more or less small talk, you realize that this part of the conversation has happened a lot recently. Someone will express concern for you, ask if you're okay, out of seemingly nowhere. You tend to find that it's simpler to just declare that you're okay, than find the words for complicated and murky feelings. Besides, since you know she's unlikely to be understanding, you feel the energy drain out of you when you imagine what would happen if you managed to blurt out everything you're feeling. What do?
3.
Tell her that everything is fine and thank her for asking. Change the subject. Yeah, they're the same.
A little bit.
I almost want her to catch
But
on.
number 3 is nicer.
Yeah. I'm okay, Mom, really. Thanks for worrying about me. Your mother looks at you from across the room with furrowed brows, and you wonder if the tone in your voice was at least a bit convincing. She slightly opens her mouth as though she was about to say something more, but instead she digs through her purse for her cell phone, having apparently decided against it. "Well, as long as you're okay, honey," her voice trails. As your mother returns to what amounts to more or less small talk, you realize that this part of the conversation has happened a lot recently. Someone will express concern for you, ask if you're okay, out of seemingly nowhere. You tend to find that it's simpler to just declare that you're okay, than find the words for complicated and murky feelings. Besides, since none of them are in reaction to a specific event, maybe you really are okay and just complaining about nothing anyway. Sometimes when you insist that you're okay to those who ask, you have to wonder if you're trying to convince them or yourself. And that feels like it would be a very common feeling. It is a lazy Sunday morning. You're idly clicking around online as your cell phone rings. Sam, a coworker of yours that you're friendly with, asks how you are and makes hurried small talk with you. You typically only ever talk to him on the phone when one of you needs a shift covered, so it's slightly awkward. You're waiting in anticipation for him to ask for you to come in on short notice when he veers the conversation in a completely different direction. How do you feel about cats? He asked. Mine had kittens a few weeks ago, and I'm having an awfully hard time finding a home for the last one of the litter. You don't have any pets, right? It takes you a moment to process this new information, and you're caught off guard as he begins to earnestly try to sell you on the idea of taking the last kitten off his hands. If not something that you had specifically considered before, as he seems fairly insistent. She's a real sweetheart, really loves people. She's got all her shots already taken care of, and the vet said she's healthy as a horse. I can bring her over by your place tonight if you're interested.
I don't know if I'd want a cat who's as healthy as a horse.
There's so much, yeah.
She's a real.
So much about this that's not in the best interest of the cat.
Yeah.
So
I'm impressed. They have all their shots though. You look around your apartment and try to picture a cat in it as he continues to tell you about how cute she is. You tell him that this is all kind of sudden and that you don't have anything for the kitten set up here. Oh, don't worry about that. I can bring over a litter box and food and all that since you'd be really helping me out of a fix. It's the least I could do. I just don't want to have to put her in a shelter. I think this is your friend trying to help you out. I mean, he's got the cat, got the shots, got the food, got the litter box.
Breeding his cat. Maybe you should have got his cat spayed.
Well, he learned that lesson. I don't think that shots for all the kittens would have been cheap.
Yeah.
That's true, but I would argue that if you don't want a cat, taking a cat out of guilt is not a good idea. There's going to be a point where there's something in your life that's going to come before that cat.
Listen,
kind of like, yeah.
You and the cat are so much alike. You aren't good at socializing. You sleep all the time, and you don't like leaving the apartment. So I mean, you and this cat, you're just like tight.
Cat's like my death trap.
You can't help but feel like you're getting guilt tripped.
My depression.
It's a mirror. Yeah. But you decide to give it some serious consideration. It does get awfully lonely around your apartment, and it might feel less empty with a cat around. However, since you've been feeling so down, it might not be a good idea to take on the responsibility of a cat, even if they are fairly low maintenance. What do you do?
Number 5.
Number 6.
Yeah, if it was a dog, I mean, that's a whole other...
if it was a puppy, then yeah.
Cats, I mean, get out of here. I just don't really like cats. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's funny. I have someone who was suicidal, and her family got her a cat. Like, that was like their thing that they kind of did. And she went through therapy, and she did lots of other things on her own. But really, the only connection that her and her family had to this really serious incident that she went through was this pet, which like was good and bad. Like, I guess as an outsider, I always thought it was really weird that like they had symbolized it in that way, but for her it did actually like make a big difference, because like exactly the logic that this is using, like you're home a lot, you're alone a lot, maybe you just need to empathize with some other creature who's kind of in the same position. So I've seen it, but yeah, I'm still inclined to say 5.
I'm overriding. I want to go with 3. I want to save this person's life. The cat.
All right.
Don, you're the only cat owner here. How do you feel about cats? You have 2, right?
Don't do it. I'm filled with regret.
There you go.
This is how Don ended up with a cat. Some man pushed it on him.
That's how I got one of